Thank you, everybody. We'd like to keep this relatively short, and we'd like to bamboozle you all with a bit of telecoms technology or terminology, as you have done with me with some mining presentations tonight. So Voice1Direct. But first, we're going to ask you about some of the challenges that some of the mining companies have today. And what I'd like to ask you is, who in this room have little or no telecommunications infrastructure that you are basically not happy with? Can I see a show of hands to see who is not happy with their telecoms at this point in time? There's a few of you. The companies we've seen today, or we've heard about today, do have sort of, are in that mid-range, the small end of the market. We know that the BHP and Rio Tintos of the world seem to have endless buckets of money, and they can pay for a substantial amount of infrastructure. What we are here to do today is tell you about why we believe we have a great compelling offer for the mid-range market of mining companies. We want to tell you about what the large incumbent telcos don't tell you and why they do it. We also want to give you an understanding of the corporate social responsibility that you all may be trying to figure out. How on earth do we help the remote towns and communities around where you are setting up your sites and companies. And we also want to keep your staff happy, and we want to keep them safe so they can go back to their families once they're flowing in and flowing out. So who is Voice1Direct, you may ask? You've probably never heard of us. We have a few signs around the tables tonight. Basically, Voice1Direct is a US-based company. It was established in 2003. We have a fairly substantial footprint in Oregon, Washington, in terms of a wireless network, and also in Corpus Christi in Texas. The key, or our focus, is certainly on regional and rural areas. We know that all the telcos, again, focus on the metro areas, and again, the rural and regional areas of Australia and any other country around the world seem to suffer, particularly in Australia, where, again, mining is a substantial part of our GDP. And they seem to be, lacking in terms of what the government, what the telcos, etc., want to do out in the bush. NBN Co. How many of you guys are going to get fibre running into your towns around where you are? If you're a few hundred K or a few thousand K away from these towns, you're probably going to end up with wireless. Ericsson is going to build a wireless network. They're going to be fixed broadband. If you're 500, 600, 700, 1,000 K away from these towns, what sort of speeds are you going to be getting into these, into your companies and sites, etc.? So who are we? Well, we're a wholesale and retail provider. So wholesale means that we can offer you, as a company, the ability to on-sell services, whether it's voice over IP, high-speed broadband, into your communities and towns and your company. Separate networks, but allows you to get a return on your investment for any telco infrastructure that you decide to put in place, but also offer something back to the community, i.e. communication services that they may not have had for a while. We do have our own innovative technology, and we like to term this Y-Mix. And why? Well, it's a case of using a number of radio technologies, which is Wi-Fi, WiMAX, mobile, which you've heard of, GSM, LTE is the latest one coming out. WiMAX has been around for a while. It's quite large in the States. And it's a very clever technology for niche applications, high speed, and also in terms of quality of service. We can do a number of unique and innovative things with it. Wi-Fi MIMO, we've all heard of Wi-Fi. You're in your home, you have your mobile phone, or you have your laptop, tablets, PCs, all in your home environment, which are on the Wi-Fi network. When you step outside of your home, she usually drops out. What we're offering here in our solution is the ability to go 1, 2, 5, 10K on your Wi-Fi network, cheap, unlicensed spectrum, deliver data, voice across that service, and basically most of the mine sites that I've seen have 10, 15, 20K, and I'm sure we could cover that site and offer all your workers, all your machinery. You may have heard of machine to machine, M2M it's called, the capability to send back data to the operations centres and then backhaul back to the main centres and towns at a relatively low cost. You will find that most of the incumbent telcos in Australia will want to charge you exorbitant data rates, and hence you think, why is it worth getting this lower speed into our area to do that? So we do have an innovative offering there. As we say, we also are negotiating a number of contracts with mobile operators to allow the seamless roaming between our WiMix zones, and if the workers are going back into the cities and towns at the end of their shifts, they'll be able to use their mobile devices on our networks as well. So this is where we believe we have quite a substantial competitive edge. We use both licensed and unlicensed. WiMax uses licensed, and again the NBN Co are using 2.3 gigahertz, Ericsson. When are they going to deliver? Who knows? Unlicensed spectrum, cheap, it's free. It's the Wi-Fi piece. And we believe that we can deliver some pretty good services and obviously reduce cost call benefits to your company's staff and also the towns and communities. Here's a quick overview. So this is our tower sites here. Now our towers are made up of both fixed and mobile technologies. What we do is we can roll in a mobile tower from day one. A mobile tower means that you do not need a DA to roll out the WiMax and Wi-Fi capability across a mine site, which means we can deliver VoIP and broadband services from day one. When you start construction, we can deliver enough bandwidth for you to put CCTV up on your site, protect your assets, protect your staff, track your assets from day one. As we get DAs approved, we can then roll out fixed towers all the way back to where we have to connect into the internet. Now this can either be via fixed into the nearest town. I think Queensland Mining had Mount Isa nearby, so what we would do is we'd deploy fibre into Mount Isa, which is probably already there. We are a wholesale, of course, of other technologies. We would then put a tower into Mount Isa, beam it out to the mine site, whether by microwave, WiMax, you name it, we will suit your requirements. And then as we get the DAs and we figure out the land options coming back, the titles, there's a lot of Aboriginal land titles that you have to consider in some of these areas. We can then roll out fixed towers. The other good thing about mobile towers is we can test the coverage into mine sites. So we're not going to put up $1 million or $2 million tower and then go, oh bugger, we can't get coverage into that site. We're going to put mobile towers in and test the coverage. Like I said, we have GSM and LTE capability, so we give you the mobile roaming capability as well. We have a number, so the long distance secure VPNs, so obviously there may be some sensitive information coming back to your company. We can set up separate VPNs for the company, and we can set up separate VPNs for any business within that community that also wants to utilise your services. I've spoken a bit about the licence. High-speed broadband, 1 to 100 meg. I'm certain that a lot of the sites would probably be within this 1 megabit range. You don't need a lot for voice. 100 megabit, you're going NBN. Well, we can do this quite easily over 10, 20, 30 kilometres, depending on the CPU we use at the customer premise. And again, low latency. Low latency is the key to quality voice. Again, we will design and structure the network to ensure that you have low latency on your voice calls. There'll be low cost voice calls, and we can beam and place towers where need to. So the benefits of some of our solutions and services that we want to offer the mining communities. High-speed broadband, 20 megabit plus. We think that's quite easy. NBN are offering you 12 meg. Go for your life. Over a 10 to 20 kilometre radius, that's relatively easy for us. We can do up to 100 meg over 50k if we have the right towers, the right terrain, right radio technologies. So nothing's really too remote for us at this stage. High quality VoIP, one of our specialties, is certainly the low latency part. High quality voice, again, cheaper calls for our customers. High def IPTV. Distance learning. Induction programs for your miners, high-def video on demand, movies. How many of these big companies are stealing your staff because they offer the quality of comforts of home in their accommodation quarters? We will deliver that over 20 meg quite easily. Wi-Fi hotspots. Again, we can beam high-speed broadband internet connections into local businesses, local government buildings, local hospitals, and we can set up Wi-Fi hotspots so the community can share in that infrastructure. It's what it's all about, sharing. I was recently in WA, and a large mining company put on a $50 million fibre backbone from the top end down into Perth, which I thought, considering NBN is doing something similar, they may not in WA, but you know, the sharing of that $50 million infrastructure to the various communities would have been of immense benefit to everybody. Niche applications and services, I'll touch on that in a minute. Rapid deployable networks. This was the sort of the 0 day, the start of your construction. Certainly the value proposition for Voice1Direct is being able to take these mobile towers in and talking to a lot of government disaster areas, large regional events, and of course this mining, construction and processing plants. So who's putting processing plants that need to be moved every few months from mine site to mine site, or every year? How much cabling do you roll out? How often is the cabling being damaged? We can put on the Wi-Fi network to do the machine-to-machine for your processing plants, your automation of those particular sites. Working with state and local governments. The state and local governments want to work with the mining communities to deliver good services, not only to yourselves, but also not to duplicate infrastructure, not to have 15 bits of fibre running down a highway or railway line. They want to take care of the black spots, the remote towns and communities, and again, this corporate social responsibility. I keep banging on about this, but every government, every local shire council I speak to, they want to help the communities, and I think mining can play an important part to this, particularly when you do have a substantial impact on some of these communities, and I think we have the value proposition for you to be a winner with these communities and help deliver some of this infrastructure. And I've touched on the fact that we are partnering with a number of the incumbent mobile operators to deliver the seamless networks. So some of the services and products we're delivering. These are some of the minimal high-speed internet and voice services we're delivering. One of the things that I've seen out of the presentation tonight is there's been a lot of detailed analytical graphics and data, and I'm sure these are relatively good chunky files. If you have an understanding of telecoms, the upload or the synchronous capability of being able to upload those files in real time from a vehicle out in the field that's doing exploratory data analysis and get it back for rapid analysis, whatever you do with that information, obviously put together a lot of this information in real time instead of taking 2 or 3 days to get back to a main centre. I'm sure that would be a benefit. So the synchronous capability of upload, download is something we do very well. Advanced communications, I've touched on the VPNs, virtual private networks, secure, video conferencing. Staff want to talk to their families back in the main towns, video conferencing, we've all used Skype. Distance training, give back to the community, education, training staff, induction programs, community Wi-Fi hotspots. Mobile VoIP and IPTV, these are almost becoming commodity products and services, but to package them all up and again offer them to your staff, employees, towns, communities, we believe is a good value proposition for mining companies. Studio rental channels, we're looking at establishing facilities where companies and customers can come in, do their training programs, record the programs, and then broadcast them over the air when they need to. And then the niche premium services I spoke of, the CCTV security, machine-to-machine telemetry, occupational health and safety. And some of that is on a tracking device like this, which is an RFID tag. It goes into mining uniforms. It's waterproof. It's a tag where we put passive readers on the entrance of mines or gates, whatever you want to track. It's plastic. You can sew it into the company uniforms and you can track your miners and keep them safe. Health monitoring, long distance health monitoring. You may have miners that are obviously unwell and sick. We can put high def video capabilities for GPs in towns and rural areas to check on that staff daily and the likes. So all becoming very valuable applications for rural and regional towns. So how do we get started? I was at a mine site in WA and they just spent probably $3 to $4 million on putting fibre in and a 3G mobile tower. What we're offering is probably something about the 10th of that price. We have these mobile towers. This is a 60-foot tower that winds up. We wind her up, we stick some radios on it, and we start to light up the area, probably within 10, 15, 20k of that area. We can start off with satellite, which we don't really want to do, but we can still get pretty good downloads, 60 meg. That'll give you some good broadband and some good voice services. So this is our Y-mix coverage. Again, 10 to 20, get you going from day one. We like the customers to purchase the towers so they can use them day in, day out, move them around wherever they like. But we tend to lease the services, so we lease the radio equipment, A, for service level agreements, for any faults, support. It seems it's not your core business, it's our business, and we will arrange the services to maintain and support that equipment. And of course the VSAT internet type service charges, as we're all used to today. There's an optional voice service. If we're using satellite, for instance, we like to stick the voice equipment as close to the satellite gear as possible for latency and quality. But this can also be used for the high-def TV, video conferencing and the likes type capability as well. So there's another additional cost here. So all up, you're probably looking at around $300,000, $400,000 to get set up, plus ongoing monthly charges. We have a time. We like to think of a maximum delay to get things going of about 90 days, but we'd like to deliver in 30. Leasing arrangements. Eventually the VSAT, any fixed fibre type services that we are wholesaling, we'd like to build out and have backhaul by a fixed radio, which is a lot cheaper cost-wise. There's only licensed spectrum we have to pay for in the end. We don't have to pay anyone else for those costs, which is, again, benefit to the company. Not included is obviously these backhaul costs because we like to go into other areas. And the GSM LTE capability. There's a lot of cost, battery, redundancy in the radio gears, but we have partnered with players like Huawei, which you may not have heard of, a large private Chinese company that is building the Optus network, the Vodafone network, and is a $120 billion company worldwide. So we've partnered with them to help us with any of those sorts of capabilities we need. And then there's the license spectrum costs, which we do over the counter. And in the areas which we're focusing on tonight, these are relatively cost effective. So that's who Voice1Direct are. And I hope that's given you some insight into what the larger telcos won't tell you. Thank you.